Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. My apologies for how the screen looks. We're sorting out the kinks, but the show's got to go on, and we got some further developments in the second Trump assassination ploy that they caught the suspect. They have now detained him. They have done a little bit of investigating on the background of this. But also, there's a lot that hasn't been reported on for obvious reasons. Now, I had a feeling that digging through this was going to lead exactly to what what people say, tinfoil hat people would say, is that somehow this guy's an insider. Just like the last time the assassinator in Pennsylvania, that lonesome 20-year-old we found out had commercials with BlackRock, had deep ties with the deep state, and kind of figured out that the reason they're concealing this, the reason that they're not investigating to this, is because there's some sort of deep state ploy that doesn't want to be revealed to the general public. But luckily, there are some individuals that are willing to speak out about this, including Jimmy Dore, who posts this out on Twitter saying, "This is Donald Trump assassination attempt suspect Ryan Wesley Routh. He was interviewed by Newsweek in Romania in 2022, so just 2 years ago. He's a zealot for Ukraine war because he's fully propagandized by corporate media to support the war. He has zero idea of what the war is actually about. His mind is very childlike. It's a battle of good versus evil, just like the corporate news told him." Which is pretty common to most wars that the United States, Canada, the Western Hemisphere always participates in, because anytime something like that happens, they go right to mainstream media, and mainstream media, all they're doing is advertising, doing PR stunts to propagate the war. They're not actually reporting on how this war started, what causing the situation that's causing the bloodshed and mayhem that's going over there, and possible resolutions. Because as Julian Assange always reminds us, the point of all these wars is continuous. They want continuous war. They don't want it to end. They don't want peace. They don't want transparency. They don't want prosperity for any humanity around the world. They always want to engage us in warfare. And in order to do that, they had to lie to people and propagandize people by saying it's the battle of good versus evil. It's the David versus Goliath story. You hear constantly throughout all the different wars. I've grown up to hearing that story so many times, and I figured out to realize later in life that that is just a story. It's a fable to blindside you, to manipulate you, to support the war. And what it's really about is deep state insiders exploiting two countries simultaneously to tyrannize each other, to pillage each other for the good-heartedness of global capitalism. That's what it's really about. Not the David versus Goliath, not the self-defense or freedom or any of the BS that you hear constantly. So he goes on to say, that's how propaganda works. That's why I warned TYT, the Young Turks, about pushing Russiagate. It would lead to a war and brainwash guys like this. Exactly. When you constantly have this baseless conspiracy, and that was a conspiracy done up by the deep state, done up by the intelligence, to manipulate people's judgment and manipulate people to say that your democracy was stolen by Russia, but not by the corporate estate that's taken away your democracy for many years. It was all fable. It was all a conspiracy done by the FBI, the CIA, the Clinton campaign, the Democratic Party, in order to manipulate the general mass population to go after Donald Trump. To go after the MAGA movement. So then that eventually stuck with people, unfortunately. There's people that still believe that Russiagate fable, and that's where you get into war. That's how you motivate people and scare them, paranoid them enough to sell them the idea, hey, we got to go to war with Russia. Hey, we got to lock up some people. Hey, Donald Trump is such an evil criminal. Let's let the other criminals get away, but Donald Trump is the worst of them all. Because that is how propagandized people are. He has no idea what the war is actually about. So when Trump and RFK Jr. said they want to end the war, he thinks the moral thing to do is to assassinate Donald Trump. This is a direct result of corporate news, independent news repeaters, pro-war CIA talking points uncritically. No one in corporate news will ask where he was radicalized. Because if you watch this video, it's clear that he was radicalized by corporate news right here in the United States. And here's just some of the video to show you.
Please tell me who you are and why are you here?
I'm 56, from the U.S., from North Carolina originally, so live in Hawaii now, so flew all the way from Hawaii here. So the question as far as why I'm here, to me, you know, a lot of the other conflicts are gray, but this...
And I just want to say, it takes a full patsy to dye your hair both blue and yellow to support the Ukraine flag. I didn't even notice it at first until we started playing the video. I'm like, yeah, that shows you how committed he is to a proxy war. Yeah, that's a bit telling. That's a bit telling. And then they scrubbed all these videos away, but luckily people... And thank God for people on the internet to archive this footage. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to report this.
Conflict is definitely black and white. This is about good versus evil. This is a storybook. You know, any movie we've ever watched, this is definitely evil against good. I mean, we're battling a situation here where, you know, the Ukrainians and the rest of the world are caring and kind and generous and unselfish and take care of one another. And
yeah, caring, kind, unselfish. That's why they blocked all their opposition parties. That's why they canceled their elections. That's why the Azov Battalion is now brutalizing their own citizens, taping them to flagpoles and pulling down their pants and underwear to shove stuff up their butts. Yeah, you know, the kindness, the soul of Eastern Europe comes from the corruptness of Ukraine. Oh man. And the fact that he goes into like, oh, it's a storybook. It's like the greatest old story ever told. Yeah, you wonder why that is. You wonder why it's always that same story. It's the David versus Goliath. It's the weaker country going against the tyrannical force. You know, how we're going into all these different countries. We're invading countries to support their freedom so we can get them democracy. You know, it's nothing to do with actually the resources or the oil or business affairs that we've been always trying to preempt war towards. Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with Victoria Nuland and the 2014 coup that anyone can easily look up on the internet. Anyone can easily find on Google and see exactly why Russia retaliated. They still want to believe that it started in February on a cold winter's night, that Russia just stormed in with, you know, not a care in the world, but not actually figure out maybe there was something to this story. But maybe he could sell the storybook fable to Sean Penn. You know, good buddy with him.
It's just a matter of, you know, we need to stand up for that. That is the most important thing in the world, is just to show human beings that we're kind and we're caring and that we take care of one another and that the world is united so that we feed each other and make sure that, you know, we all move forward as one collective whole unit. So, you know, we feel the pain of one country's failure and their conflicts, and we enjoy the successes of other countries that are doing good, and we all work together. And for some reason, Russia does not grasp this concept that we're all one unit, and we have to get along and work together and be normal human beings. This is 2022. We have to.
Yeah, we all need to get together, get into line, shut the hell up, don't mention any critical thoughts, because that's Russian propaganda. Russia wants you to think. Unlike Ukraine, they want us to just love each other and not think about things, not go into investigation, not be critical, not have accountability into what this war is actually about, so that maybe we can actually stop this war. Because, you know, people like him, they don't want the war to end. They don't want the war to end. That's why we keep funneling as much money as possible to a country that they know is never going to win this war. They know that it's already over. The honeymoon's over. Ukraine is losing this battle harshly, and all the sanctions they're putting on Russia to stop their economy is actually tripled it. It's made it better than ours. It's actually hurt us in the long run. We're doing suicide runs to stop Russia, even though Russia's economy skyrocketed thanks to our aggression. But, you know, it's showing the good faith of humanity, according to this guy. That's when he went insane and tried to assassinate the president. Attempted to, at least. So, here's also another video to show here. This is Ryan Wesley Routh. Literally appeared in a Nazi Azov Battalion propaganda video funded by the CIA. You know, just like how that lonesome 20-year-old that just got out of high school, he was just a loner, he was misunderstood, somehow just magically appeared in a commercial for BlackRock. You know, nothing suspicious or strange about that. Nothing suspicious or strange that a high schooler appeared in a commercial for BlackRock and then a couple years later tried to assassinate a president. Nothing at all. Nothing at all, you know, baffling or needs to be investigated on that. But here's the video.
Слава Україні! Я вдячний кожному, хто сьогодні виходить на акції в Україні і в світі. Всім, хто розуміє, наскільки критичною є ситуація в Маріуполі. Всім, хто кричить про Маріуполь. Кожен день на Азовсталі – це нові загиблі та нові поранені, яких немає можливості тут лікувати. Увага всього світу зараз прикута до Маріуполя та до Азовсталі. Але цього недостатньо. Потрібно зробити зелений коридор для евакуації нашим пораненим. Потрібно негайно надати їм кваліфіковану медичну допомогу. Повірте, ці хлопці заслуговують на евакуацію. Дайте нам також вивезти тіла наших загиблих побратимів. Ми закликаємо весь цивілізований світ долучитися до гарантій безпеки та евакуації наших бійців, які зробили неможливе та продовжують захищати батьківщину, яка повинна зробити все, щоб ці герої змогли живими повернутися до своїх рідних. Іншої можливості врятувати життя людей на Азовсталі може і не бути. Слава Україні!
Героям слава! Ми, родини військових, які зараз знаходяться в місті Маріуполь, звертаємося до нашого президента Володимира Олександровича. Будь ласка, зверніться офіційно до представників ООН та внесіть в списки наших поранених, військовий гарнізон та заберіть тіла загиблих воїнів. Всі родини та вся Україна вас просить це зробити.
I am Azov, I am Mariupol, I am Ukraine. Sorry, it's really hard, but the purpose of the action.
Notice how they don't mention the Donbass region. Notice how they don't mention Crimea that has been engaged in civil war. And Crimea, for example, recently voted to remain under Russian Federation. The people of Crimea, the people of the Donbass region that have been brutalized the most throughout this war. The people that suffer the most are the people in the Donbass region, and they get completely ignored by this. They get completely shunned out because people in the Donbass region want support from Russia, not Ukraine, but from Russia, because Ukraine exiled them, completely exiled them. And they had more respect, they had more, tolerance for the people in that region towards Russia than they did with Ukraine. So, it's amazing that this has been going on for a couple years now, that we have all this, the internet, encyclopedias, books, going to, different professors that have studied the history of this region. If you've ever seen the Oliver Stone documentary, Ukraine on Fire, that's another great example. All these academics that have studied this, and yet, you hear the loudest people supporting this war, and you bring that to them. You mention these things, and they have no idea what they're talking about. No idea. They're completely clueless to what's actually happening there. But they're so certain that whatever's on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or ABC or CBS or, what's written in the New York Times is the gold standard for war reporting, because they've been told that. But they've never been told the actual story of this war. And they don't want the story of the war to get out, because then they can't sell it to these people. They can't manipulate and exploit people to sell you the idea of war. So here is this guy, Ian Carroll, and he's going to do a short little breakdown here of Ryan Wesley Routh and his background, his entire background, going through the archives that have now been deleted, off social media accounts. So you tell me that there's some sort of secrecy, some sort of conspire, something is up behind this. That this is not a lonesome person. That there had to be some sort of acknowledgement that this man was somehow going to go to the golf resort in West Palm Beach, where he knew exactly where Trump was going to be, and attempt to assassinate him. And now we're going to find out more information about who this guy really is. Listen to this.
So the new Trump assassin just dropped, and there's some spicy details already. Ryan Routh, very strange guy who's lived a very strange life. And this time, the internet was wise and archived all of his socials as much as possible before the FBI took it all down. So here's some basics on what we know about him, and one really interesting rabbit hole about who he might be. Right off the bat, though, it's super early. This is all speculative. Take your time, pump the brakes. We're just digging through dirty laundry. We don't know what sticks yet. But this guy is a private American citizen who traveled to Ukraine on his own dime, to help recruit civilian soldiers to fight for Ukraine and Afghan special forces. He was recruiting on his Facebook page. Here's an archive of all of his tweets that look pretty damn automated to me. They pretty much all look like this. In a past life in Hawaii, he apparently ran this company that made a single tiny home and a single Facebook page and never did anything else with it. Super weird. But I grabbed everyone that he followed on Twitter before they deleted it. He only followed 60. And right down at the bottom of that list, which I think...
So, the other thing to note about this is that supposedly he's originally from North Carolina. North or South Carolina. One of the two. And then moved somehow to Honolulu, Hawaii, which is one of the, most expensive states to live in. There's a reason why it's mostly you're either native in Hawaii or you're a celebrity. There's a reason for that. Not a lot of people can go from by the looks of it, the deep south of the Carolinas to Honolulu, and then immediately have a job where you own a company that apparently builds one. I'm assuming it's a tiny home. I don't know what a camp box is. It looks like one of those prefab, made up homes, but there's only one of them. So I'm very right. It's way more suspicious than people realize.
Indicates his first follow is this girl named Sue Kim, who is ex-CIA, along with some other very interesting things. Now, again, reminder, this is just speculation, digging through Twitter dirt. Maybe this chick is just a wonderful, patriotic person that's helping America. Who knows? but her account is private, meaning why does he follow her? I've been digging around, and one of my followers said that they found her in the people that follow him back. I have not been able to confirm that for myself because they took the account down. If you've got a video of the 1.2 thousand followers that followed him, that would be great to know. He says that she was at the bottom of his followed list, meaning that she followed him right when he made the account. That would make sense, seeing as she's at the bottom of his following list of who he follows too. I mean, every asset needs a handler. And when you go through some of these other affiliations here, you get what is essentially the CIA training grounds at Johns Hopkins University. It explores the relationship between politics and the many kinds of military power, from the use of terror by small non-state groups to the threatened use of nuclear weapons. Its director is John McLaughlin, who is literally an ex-acting director of the CIA and ex-deputy director of the CIA, 3-decade career at the CIA. David is third on the list of people at the top of this institution at the university. 30-year career in Army Special Forces, various special operations, invading various countries, as well as Operation Enduring Freedom. You get the idea. Anyways, RAND Corporation, that's a military industrial complex think tank, kind of like the Atlantic Council. And LMI org, yeah, that's like a military industrial complex education and training program as well. Preliminary findings on the internet when you search our homeboy, the shooter, show his arrest record, including in 2002, possession of weapons of mass destruction, Class F felony, along with 3 other blocks of things like possession of handguns or concealed weapons and driver's license stuff. And yeah, that sounds like some operative shit to me. But again, we don't know any of this yet. We're just digging through dirty laundry on the internet. It's hard to tell what's real. But this is a photo of the weapon he used and the setup he had. People are speculating it looks an awful lot like, you know, Russian-Ukrainian class of rifle. He's doing these weird recruitment ops in Ukraine for civilians. Well, he's like posting on his Facebook all the time to like no followers about how he's recruiting hundreds of civilians to fight for Ukraine. Posting for like Afghan special forces to contact him so they can come fight in Ukraine. But he's like just a random citizen from Hawaii. And one of the 60 people he follows is this CIA gal that allegedly follows him back. That looks an awful lot like a handler or a contact. His account looks an awful lot like a bot or an MK Ultra or a Pato. Who knows what the hell this is? His criminal record looks an awful lot like what you might expect a kind of guy in this kind of line of work to leave behind. And then there's the weird video evidence getting turned up.
Officials in Kyiv simply aren't interested in recruiting them.
Ukraine is reluctant to be cooperative.
That's Ryan Ruth, a U.S. citizen who set up the International Volunteer Center in Ukraine to help connect foreigners to Ukrainian military units.
Now I'm talking to over 100 soldiers every day, and pretty much everybody, all of my contacts in Ukraine, they were adamant, pretty much yelled at me every time that I suggested that we bring in Afghans.
The Ukrainian government didn't respond to our request for comment, but a source close to the officials in Kyiv told Semaphore that their top concern is the question of loyalty in the thick fog of war.
The biggest thing is spies. They're afraid that anybody and everybody is a Russian spy.
Shout out to some bitch I know on X, who currently has one of the best archives of all of his socials and accounts. There's a lot of other people doing good work right now. And again, I just want to clarify. I'm not trying to pretend like I've solved the case or like we know what's going on. We just have learned by now that the FBI is going to just cover everything up. And so it's up to us to try to dig everything out before they do. So that's what we're doing. And yes, it's ridiculous that that is even a set of sentences we have to say in America in 2024 when someone tries to kill the former and future president of the United States of America. And I mean, I can only imagine who might be backing up these operations to try to shoot him and who might be providing the intel and the access and the cover-ups, etc. So last thing I'll say, Ryan Routh, he's currently in custody. He was driving away in an SUV. They caught him. He's alive for now. And I just want to remind us all, Ryan Routh did not kill himself. If cameras malfunction outside of his cell, if he has a weird slipping accident, whatever happens, yeah, you know the story. 50 more days, my money's on at least one more attempt before we get there. So stay frosty, because the war machine desperately needs the wars to escalate, and they're not down with the MAGA Maha folks shutting down the wars. And they are ready to kill people, ready to assassinate, allegedly, apparently, theoretically, just jokingly, in order to perpetuate those wars.
So there you go. And it sounds crazy that we have to get reliable sources from people on TikTok and social media and X and Twitter and all that stuff, but as he even pointed out, they are doing everything to cover the story. They're doing everything to cover up the story, to hide it away from the public, just like they did with the last assassination, which, again, raises more suspicion than it's resolving. The fact that they're so diligent on trying to hide this information, cover up his accounts, cover up his archives, the fact that this man is alive still, so they can easily get information on who this man is, what his background is, and how he got into the Florida golf course, exactly knowing when Trump was going to be there. And they're doing everything to cover it up, which all it does is leave more suspicion. It's going to lead to people going onto these social media sites to put these stories together, to look through the archives, and luckily people are doing their, homework. They're reading into the investigation, and they're finding a lot that is not being addressed about who this person is. And I know at this point in time that anytime they say it's a lonesome individual, and when you put that in the same context as trying to assassinate the president, I know that's complete crap. I know that right off the bat, that is complete crap. When you hear the word lonesome, they try to use that same exact line for the last 60 years, since Lee Harvey Oswald. They've been trying to, it's just a lone person. This guy is just, he's not all there and just magically appeared at these, these highly secured areas of the highest prioritized people, and then boppity bippity boo, something happens, he kills them, and then he goes away. That is why people are so reluctant to investigate this as much as possible, and I love that the fact that it comes down to regular people like us to uncover this story, as the rest of the media is trying to sweep this under the rug. You can hear already reporters saying, like, yes, I know that, someone tried to assassinate the president the second time now, but Trump is still a threat to democracy. Like, literally, you hear that when you turn on the TV now. They acknowledge that someone was trying to assassinate the president, but still want to blame Donald Trump. This is how deranged and lunacy and just how awful those people are. The media is. That's why it comes down to people like us. And it's going to sound crazy coming from some rando, but I trust this rando because he's providing the information, context, all those sources that no other media outlet is providing. And it makes more sense that this guy who arbitrary, like supportive of Ukraine so much that he dyed his hair, flew himself over there, and is actively recruiting people, going out and doing recruitment ads for the CIA. You scratch your head and go, you don't believe the official narrative that this is definitely another patsy, another person that got swooped up by the government, swooped up by the feds, say, hey, I know you're a troubled individual. If you do our dirty work, we're going to excuse your crimes. We're going to excuse your behavior. You're going to, we're going to put you up in a nice house, maybe in Hawaii. And as long as you do our dirty work, as long as you be our monkey that does our work for us, you're set for life. And that's what it seems to be. That's what it seems to be. Same with the 20-year-old in Pennsylvania. I don't believe for a second that some rando ex-high schooler was able to climb the roof at a secure event in Pennsylvania with Secret Service surrounding the area that even saw this kid and somehow didn't do anything and let Trump get injured. So there you have it, folks. Like that's the stuff you do not see on television as they're trying to sweep it under the rug. I urge people to share as much of this content as possible and remind people that there's always more to this story. There's always, always, always more to this investigation. And the fact they're so blatant on doing an investigation proves that exact point.